Okay, this is skill 2, infection control and transmission-based precautions for biomedical lab science. And it includes a hand washing component and then a donning and doffing of PPE. So if you want more details about how to do this properly, the nursing assisting videos have a lot of information in the nursing assisting rubrics on more in-depth steps, especially the hand washing, than this rubric includes. And so just kind of keeping that in mind, that this one just talks about, washing your hands vigorously. If you want to learn proper hand washing in that 15 to 30 seconds of how we cover the whole hand, that's a great way to kind of add more knowledge to your base, as that's kind of the point of HOSA, is continuing to add to your knowledge base. So just know that those other videos are out there. Again, it's kind of cool that some of these events overlap, so you can be practicing with other teammates from your school who might be doing nursing assisting or other events. There's a handful of events that include some of this donning and doffing of PPE and hand washing. So in this scenario, step number 1, again, make sure you're looking at guidelines and you know that they exist. There's Montana short sheets that you can find on the website that kind of show how we're doing this event. And then there's a gotta have it list that talks about the equipment that you're responsible for bringing for an event like this. So I'm going to verbalize that I'm gathering all my PPE. I have my gown, I have a mask, I have sterile gloves, and that kind of thing. So I do that, and next I'm going to wash my hands. And so in this one, I'm going to use a paper towel to turn on the faucet and get the water warm. As I do that, again, just proper procedure that's not in that rubric, because I want to make sure that I'm not contaminating my clothing or body with the sink surface or the insides of the sink. And so I always want to use the clean side of the paper towel and use that to turn on my water. I want it to be warm. Dispose of your towel in the proper garbage can. Mine's right here. And then I'm going to wet my hands with my fingertips pointed down and make sure I get my wrists about 2 inches up, 1 to 2 inches. And then I'm going to get soap and rub vigorously. And so this scenario, I think, only talks about, making sure that you get the fronts and backs of your hands and all of your fingertips, and that you rub vigorously for 15 to 30 seconds. Again, you can check out that other video for how we kind of make sure we get their cuticles, we get in between our fingers, how we get the backs of our hands and palms, how we wash our thumbs. And so you can see all that kind of in more detail with those nursing assisting rubrics as you do that. So I'm going to verbalize that I'm washing for 15 to 30 seconds. And then as I rinse hands again under warm water, I want to make sure that my fingertips are pointed down and that I use the clean side of a dry paper towel to dry them and not just shake them. And the same thing to turn off that faucet. So I like to use a paper towel, the clean side, and pat down to my fingers, dispose of it in a proper receptacle, use that clean hand to dry my other hand, and grab a clean paper towel using that clean side to turn off my faucet. Now, some rubrics have you either wash your hands or use hand sanitizer. In this technique, we're actually going to use both. So after I wash my hands, I'm going to come over to my hand sanitizer, my waterless hand rub, and I'm going to apply this, and I'm going to verbalize that I would clean all surfaces, fronts, backs, between fingers for 15 seconds, and continue this process until this hand sanitizer dries. And of course, I'm using a really crappy hand sanitizer that came out right at the start of COVID, and it doesn't quite dry. It's kind of like an aloe feeling. So I'm going to just get that on there and move on now to my donning and doffing. So the first thing that I'm going to grab is my gown, and I only want to touch the inside of that gown. That's the clean surface of the gown. And so as I grab it, this one's a little bit wadded up because I just used it for nursing assisting. I want it to fall away from my body and kind of open itself up. And now I'm going to insert my arms. And you want to make sure that you put your PPE on in the correct order. It's really important. And again, only touch the inside of this surface. So as I don't want to just reach and grab and pull this sleeve on, I want to kind of maneuver, which is kind of awkward in a video because it feels like you're waiting on me forever, and it's just kind of weird. So welcome to that. Next, I'm going to go ahead and tie at the neck and then at the waist. And just make sure that this is now covering my clothing completely at the front. I'm just going to verbalize that I'm checking that. The next thing that I'm going to don in order is my mask. And so again, I don't want to touch the surface of my mask. I want to pick it up ideally by its top strip. And you might have different styles of masks. This is like a KN95 mask. You're going to maybe have some that go over your ears and that kind of thing. So just kind of check that as far as being able to verbalize your steps as you're working with your mask. And so as I pick that up, I want to be careful not to touch my face with my fingers, and I'm going to go ahead and put my top strap on first. And then my bottom strap. Again, being careful not to touch my face at all with my hands. Next, you're going to don sterile gloves. And again, I like to make sure my mask is fit well. But your sterile gloves are going to come wrapped in like a paper container. And I just have this mocked right now because we donated a lot of our sterile gloves, again, during COVID. But it's going to come open in this. And so these are sterile, as the name says. And so I want to make sure, again, that I'm not touching that outside surface of the gloves. And so as I open this up, they're usually labeled, and I'm going to grab the right glove by the cuff and get my hand inside there, again trying to avoid touching the outside of this and contaminating this sterile surface. Again, now my left glove. And once these are on, I want to push these gloves up over the wrist and over the cuffs of my gown. At this point, the judge will tell you that you can remove your PPE and that you're on. And so I'm going to kind of go in the reverse order and take off my gloves. Again, this outside surface is now contaminated, and so that's the only surface I want to touch, or I want to leave all of the contaminated surface together. So I'm going to pinch one glove on the outside and turn that inside out, leaving those contaminants. I can ball that up inside this other hand and then reach inside this glove. So now I'm touching only the clean surface and not the outside, and turn this glove inside out. So everything on that contaminated non-sterile surface is now on the inside. And I'm going to put this in a biohazard container that we would have labeled or mocked up for you. Next is going to come the gown. The mask is going to come last. So I'm going to go ahead and untie here at my neck and my waist. And the goal again is to kind of turn this inside out just like your gloves. So I don't want to touch the outside of this. So I can only touch the inside, and I'm going to roll this inside out and roll it up, and again verbalize that I would take this inside out, discard it into the biohazard waste receptacle. And lastly, I'm going to remove my mask, and I only want to touch the ties as I do that. Also going in that biohazard waste receptacle, and I end that scenario with using that hand sanitizer in there. So this again is CL2 for biomedical lab science.